Number 8. Naim Vera and Brenda Michaela Gordillo. Almost anyone who's experienced relationship problems knows what it's like when a disagreement drags on all night and into the early morning hours. It's exhausting and inconvenient, but they rarely result in death. But it's scary how easy it is to take things too far without necessarily meaning to. Just ask Naim Vera, who made news headlines last year for shoving his 24-year-old girlfriend, Brenda Michaela Gordillo, to her death. He was just 19 at the time, when an argument broke out between the two about Brenda possibly being pregnant. The couple went to work things out at a vacant apartment that Vera's family owned in the Argentinian province of Catamarca. During the fight, Naim shoved Brenda, sending her tumbling down a flight of stairs and supposedly to her death. The panicked killer wrapped Brenda's body in a blanket and tried to burn her remains. He then put her body parts in the garbage bags and left them in a dumpster nearby. Based on Vera's version of events, some people may believe he really didn't mean to kill his girlfriend, even if the details are pretty gruesome. But investigators found a piece of his skin under Brenda's nail, indicating that she had struggled against him in a fight. They also determined that someone asphyxiated Brenda by holding a piece of cloth over her face, proving that her killer experienced more than just a momentary lapse of judgment. Vera was sentenced to life in prison. He appealed, and the court is in the process of deciding whether to uphold his sentence. Number 7. Summer and Hunter Tatum. Things got ugly for a couple in Prattville, Alabama. In October, after 26-year-old Summer Tatum saw text messages between her husband, Hunter, and another woman. The pair reportedly argued for days before Summer, who was 6 months pregnant and had cerebral palsy, was rushed to the hospital with gunshot wounds. Doctors performed an emergency delivery on her premature son, Everett, but neither mother nor baby survived. Hunter told detectives that the couple had wrestled over a gun, accidentally causing it to go off and shoot Summer. But the evidence tells a much different story, according to Assistant District Attorney Sarah Speaks, who accused Hunter of shooting his wife twice in the back of the head, execution style. He was charged with 2 counts of murder. Speaks delivered an impassioned argument to the judge, stating she was on her knees in front of him, and her last words were, "Please don't kill me. Please don't shoot me." Before Hunter hired a lawyer, he gave a statement to police that Speaks described more or less as an admission to the cold-blooded murder of his pregnant, disabled wife. Hunter's attorney, Trey Norman, told the Montgomery Advisor that his client had not admitted to killing someone in cold blood. He said that both Hunter and Summer each owned a gun and that they kept their guns beside their bed. Norman also claimed that the suspect spent days begging Summer to reconcile with him after she discovered that he was sexting with a woman in England. Prosecutors confirmed that Summer owned the .38 caliber revolver that she was killed with, but they are still confident that Hunter is responsible for her death. He is currently being held on $400,000 bond, and they're trying to convince the judge to raise his bail because they believe that he's a flight risk. If Hunter makes bail, he'll have to surrender his passport and all his guns and wear a monitoring device. Number 6. TANJ Hutchinson and Jessica Edwards. Earlier this year, a 30-year-old Connecticut woman named Jessica Edwards disappeared. She was about to graduate college, so it was unlikely that she just vanished on purpose. After last seeing Jessica on Mother's Day, her concerned family began frantically searching for her. In the meantime, her 22-year-old husband, TANJ Hutchinson, reported her missing. Police interviewed Hutchinson numerous times. He reportedly showed little to no emotion and was caught in several lies. Detectives traced Hutchinson's whereabouts at the time of her disappearance by examining his cell phone data, which led detectives to the victim's body. Jessica's remains were found in a wooden area in East Hartford. The same day, investigators confronted Hutchinson, who reportedly admitted that the couple fought the day before his wife disappeared, and that it had gotten physical. He said that he had shoved Jessica, causing her to hit her head and bleed. She left the house, and when she returned later that evening, the arguing continued. Hutchinson eventually confessed to pinning his wife onto the ground and pressing his knee into her neck until she stopped moving. He then resumed his day like normal, only to return to the room and realize that Jessica was dead. Her family repeatedly tried calling to check on her, while Hutchinson loaded her remains into his SUV and then dumped her in the forest. He was originally arrested on suspicion of first-degree manslaughter, but the charge was upgraded to murder. The suspect is being held on $1.5 million bail and faces 25 to 60 years in prison if convicted. Number 5. Pierre Tyler and Andris Woodford. When 29-year-old Andris Woodford never showed up at her father's home to pick up her child, he knew something was wrong. Woodford's parents called the police. He went to the woman's apartment and found her dead from a fatal gunshot wound to the head. They connected the bullet to a gun belonging to Woodford's boyfriend and the father of her child, 29-year-old Chicago police officer, Pierre Tyler. He tried telling detectives that he left the weapon at Wofford's apartment, but they didn't buy the story. Not only were they unable to find the gun, but the victim's keys and cell phone were also missing. Tyler stuck to his story, claiming that he was at Wofford's home until 9 p.m. the night before she was found dead, and that he left to meet with a confidential informant for his job. But the officer's partners said that they weren't with him that night, and it wouldn't have been customary for him to meet with an informant alone. Neighbors reported hearing the couple arguing prior to Wofford's death. In the early evening, she reached out to family members asking them to pick up her child from daycare. Later that night, Wofford's father received a text from her phone saying that she was on her way over. It was the last he ever heard from her. That night, nearby residents heard a muffled bang come from the victim's apartment, and then the arguing stopped. The pair were apparently fighting because Tyler had a child with another woman during his relationship with Wofford. She was upset because she found out he had an upcoming child support hearing and suspected him of secretly marrying the mother of his other child, according to the Chicago Sun-Times. The Chicago Police Department fired Tyler and charged him with first-degree murder. He is currently being held without bail. Does this case seem a little fishy to you? Do you buy Tyler's story? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe button if you haven't already. Number 4. Chanelle and Christopher Lewis. Small disagreements can often lead to big blowouts, but most people know not to take their behavior far enough to cause any serious harm. A 35-year-old Oklahoma woman named Chanelle Lewis evidently lacked that self-control and took things too far when she and her husband, Christopher, began arguing about food while out on an ATV trail. Things escalated quickly, and Christopher told Chanelle that he wanted a divorce. She responded by threatening to run him over and kill him, according to Christopher's son, who spoke with the local news. And then, she actually did it. In a fit of rage, Chanelle got onto a four-wheeler and hit the gas, heading straight towards her husband. She ran him over and killed him, according to the witness. Then, she allegedly tried hitting her stepson and stepdaughter. Cornette hit Chanelle in the face to stop her, giving her a swollen eye. Local law enforcement told the press that there was some alcohol involved, but based on the sound of things, I think it's safe to say that the suspect might also have some anger issues. Sadly, 2 children have lost their father and are left to grapple with his death, while medical examiners work to determine what specific injuries killed Christopher. Chanelle was originally arrested for manslaughter, but now faces a second-degree murder charge. Number 3. Tumi Session and Lawrence Tulane. A family in Limpopo, South Africa, is feeling very disturbed after their loved one, 23-year-old Tumi Session, allegedly died at the hands of her boyfriend during a heated argument. It was around 2 in the morning when Session's partner, 32-year-old Lawrence Tulane, ran her over with his Mercedes-Benz. Session's sister, Faith Kawona, received a call that she was lying in the street and rushed to the scene. Kawona found her sibling covered in blood and injuries. Shortly before Session's tragic death, she had told Kawona that she and Lawrence were having relationship problems. Neighbors had overheard the couple arguing outside on the night of the murder. They claimed that Lawrence got into his car during the moment of rage and mowed Session down. Her body was dragged by the undercarriage for a distance before coming to a stop. By then, it was too late to save her life. Lawrence was arrested for killing Session, and the case is in the beginning stages of working its way through the court system. He recently applied for bail, and his victim's family has made it clear that they don't think he deserves it. Session was orphaned as a child. Her sister said that she was a loving and self-reliant person who dreamed of and planned for a better life that she'd had so far. The young woman's murder highlights the region's ongoing problem of gender-based violence, leaving the community saddened and disappointed. Number 2. Amanda and Dennis Devers. A few months ago, 33-year-old Amanda Marie Devers and her husband, Dennis, got into a dispute over some personal property. The argument quickly became heated and shot Devers 4 times in their Irvington, Kentucky home. She also accidentally shot herself in the foot. Dennis's sister-in-law, Wendy Devers, told the local news that he was shot in the hand, shoulder, chest, and head. Police found his body outside the home. Just weeks earlier, Amanda had filed for an order of protection against Dennis, only to ask a judge to drop it shortly thereafter. The judge granted her request, and the case was dismissed. Amanda picked Dennis up from jail and took him home. The deadly spat happened the very next day. Wendy and her husband, Donald, are trying to get custody of the couple's 1-year-old, who was in state care at the last update. The grieving pair were left with a host of unanswered questions, including why Amanda felt the need to kill Dennis. As Donald pointed out, she could have just walked out of the door and walked away. And he has a great point. It's common for people to stay in toxic relationships far longer than they should. but leaving is usually the easiest way to avoid having things get worse, or God forbid, deadly. Dennis's family treated the tragedy as an opportunity to raise awareness about the silent suffering many men endure in abusive relationships. In fact, experts have reported that the number of male domestic violence victims is rising. Jadora Parks, a spokesperson for the local Center for Women and Families, told a local media outlet that the increase coincides with rising substance abuse and untreated mental health issues. Speaking with the station, Dennis's mother, Geraldine, urged anyone who's finding themselves in an abusive relationship to remember her son's tragic death as a cautionary tale about how quickly a domestic violence situation can become deadly. And number 1, Mercedes and Darin Moore. Police in Woodbridge, Virginia probably weren't sure what to expect when they were summoned to the scene of a domestic dispute in September, but they knew it was serious and took no chances when it came to safety. Local residents who had heard gunshots and dialed 911 watched in shock as somewhere between 15 and 20 cops approached the residence with their guns drawn. Officers found 55-year-old Darin Carlisle Moore and his wife, 52-year-old Mercedes, had been shot. Darin died at the scene from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and Mercedes was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. The press reported that the couple's 8-year-old son, who was home when the shooting happened, was physically okay and had been taken in by a relative. They also had a teenage child who wasn't home at the time. Mercedes died over a month later from her injuries. The tragedy came as a shock to Isabel Molina, who lived across the street from the Moores. She told the local news station that Mercedes and Darin seemed like a stable couple, and she often saw them outside playing with their son. Molina was awakened by the gunshots, and the next thing she knew, she saw the police swarming the home. Despite the circumstances surrounding the ordeal, she described the couple as really good people and good neighbors. It appears as though nobody saw what was coming that day, serving as a reminder that some people have the terrifying capacity to snap on a moment's notice. Authorities ruled the incident as murder-suicide. Thanks for watching. Have you ever witnessed a crazy argument? What did you do? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos like these. See you next time.